It's Sunday morning, third week into November. So I'm at the top of the garden. I just thought I'd show you some of these nice autumn colours. And finally this one, Shishishigara, which is an Acer, finally getting its nice colour, finally. I prefer it to be more orange than that, but again, it depends whether it's in enough sun, and that gets shade at this time of year, so possibly that would have been better in the sun because it would take on more orange tones. But it looks good anyway. So we'll just take a quick walk through the garden. I'm not going to talk about any of this, but I'll just show you where we're at the moment. It's a Sunday morning, so it's not as noisy. There's a few cars coming through. As soon as I pick up this camera and come out, all the cars suddenly decide they're gonna come out as well. It's looking nice. Now, I was looking at the wildlife dip pools last night, and that is pigeon bloom. So I'm getting pigeons bathing, and the giveaway is that little feather there. That's the giveaway. So pigeons are coming in, bathing, and I think owls are again. Now, I haven't got my camera up at the moment. I've run out of batteries, so it's not up at the moment, so I can't tell whether there's owls coming and going. So yesterday, I decided to get into the garden and do a little bit more in the wildlife area, or that I call the wildlife area. It's really the orchard area. And yesterday it was heavy drizzle, virtually all day till probably mid to late afternoon. Now today, look at it, absolutely beautiful, typical. But what I had to do, I did yesterday. Now, I could get in the garden again and do a little bit more, but, you know, sometimes you've got to give yourself a rest and a break, especially as I work full-time as well. So it's looking good in general, but I got stuck into it yesterday because there were one or two changes I wanted to make, and I have to do it when I've got time. Like I say, and yesterday, it was drizzling heavy, but that was my day. I could have changed the day, but decided not to, decided to keep going. Yesterday, I got on with this. I did a bit of a change round. There was just way too much stuff in this garden, or in this particular border, and I felt it was time to do something about that, change it. I had a lot of plants to take out. Some have gone back in and some haven't. Some have been potted up. So this is what I used to call the orchard border, and maybe it needs a rename at some point. And this is where I put some miscanthus, if you remember, during the year, and I wanted to show different examples of different miscanthus and the sizes, etc. Now, there's not really enough room to put a load in here, so I had to restrict the numbers. And how many are there? There's 1 there, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, there was 7 yesterday, but I had to take one out because it just wasn't doing very well, and it looked like it was never going to do very well. So what I'm doing with that one is I'm going to actually put it back into a pot and get it going again. A little bit of time, it should be all right. So I've put bits and bobs in here. I put some more Verbena bonariensis, which should look good next year. They're only little ones. I've been growing these on in pots, so they're only tiny. Nothing big, nothing to write home about, but they'll do all right. Should be good next year. So we've got some Rudbeckia demii, and these were just to the right of the big grass that you're looking at the right of the screen. They were that side of it. So there, they were there. And I took them out. I put 3 plants in originally. I've took 2 of them out. One became a big clump, the one on the right, and then the left side, not so big. But I thought I want them back in, so we put them back there just to add a bit of interest for next year. And I think they're going to look good. So I didn't want it to be just grasses, because it can become a bit boring. But I wanted it to still be mainly grasses, because I want to demonstrate different types of miscanthus. Now, I've got different miscanthus all over the garden, so it wouldn't really matter. But I wanted to put some different species in here, a cluster of them, and I've realised that I've actually put in at least 1, 2, 3, 4 of them are older cultivars that they're in there. Now, I'm not going to go through each one of those. There's no point at the moment. They need to resettle. They need to grow on next year, and then we'll do another talk on that and another talk on miscanthus. But there are some nice ones in there. I put the Deschampsia back in there, and that's Cabana Buta, another brilliant Deschampsia with very tall flower heads. very tall, up to 5 foot those. Put 2 of them back. One of them wasn't doing very well and has been put on the compost heap because they don't last forever. And these are plants from a split that I originally bought, and they're, well, they must be 4 years, 5 years old at least, but these aren't because these are split, so it reinvigorates them. So we've got this is Rosa rugosa. It's really a hedging rose. It's got some nice hips on it actually, and I think they use this in medicines, I believe, or in tincture, in cough medicine, something like that. I'm not sure, I could be wrong. Don't go putting that in your medicine because I could be wrong. You could be dead tomorrow if you do that. I don't want to blame you for that. Anyway, so that's a really nice rose. I love it. Now I've let it grow spindly like that, but I'm actually going to take out the tops. I've already done it, so we'll demonstrate on this one. I've done it on this one already yesterday, just to test it. And then I shall do it to all of them. And you don't have to be too crucial about where you cut it, but I do tend to still look for an outward facing bud. But that bud could be any side, so you kind of have to go, let's show you. So I could have gone for that one, could have gone for that one, could have gone for that one, but I've gone for one round the back, so it makes it come round a bit better. So it sends the growth towards the fence. But it doesn't really matter, because when you use this as a hedging plant, you just simply use a hedge trimmer and clip it, and it comes back beautiful, and it will flower on and off all year, as this one did this year, last year, and the year before. Absolutely beautiful. And the scent is amazing. The downside is, don't last for very long. Probably a week you'll get out of each flower and then they'll be gone. But it's a nice one to have. That's a good tall miscanthus, that one. I wanted a big tall one there because it has to compete with this. So this is a lovely shrub, and it's called Eleagnus, and one called, or a variety called Quicksilver. It is very silvery. The leaves are very silvery. When you see them, it does get quite tall quite quick as well. Maybe that's why they call it Quicksilver. Very vigorous, but easy to control. I've got it here because I'm wanting to create another tunnel on this section here. I want all of this side here to come over, and then eventually I will walk through it over time. Hopefully that'll come to fruition, but you never know. Plans change. What else did I plant? Oh yeah. So we put this Erysimum in, and this is Erysimum Bowles Mauve, and it is a fantastic one. That's the colour of the flower. Now if you're looking for a plant that's got a lot of interest, a year-round interest at that, choose that one, because the flowers can still be coming out over Christmas, over winter. It doesn't care. The secret to getting that is to prune it at the correct time. Now, if you look on my videos, you should find one that's just about that plant there. I used to have an excellent specimen further up the garden that did really, really well. Now, it made about 3 foot high by probably nearly 3 foot wide. And I got it to flower for 4 years, or live for 4 years, because it's very short-lived. Probably 2 years most people get out of them. And if you're lucky, you can get 4 years, 5 years, as I have. And that's all down to the clipping at the correct time. So look out that video. Very nice one. So that should fill out that whole area by the end of next year. It should be a lovely, let's see, it should be a lovely rounded shrub. Look beautiful. So I've got a ridiculous little Symphotrichum here called Orpheus. Now you'll have to look that one up, but the colour is amazing. And that's why I've got it here. Beautiful. We'll put the label back. I keep losing labels, but I'm starting to write bigger plastic ones so that we can get used to the name, because when you first buy a plant, you're not used to it. You're not used to the name, and you forget what there is there, especially if you're new to gardening. You'll always forget, so always try and keep your label. Even if it's not with the plant, keep it in a pot. You can always refer back to it, because you will suss out which one that label belongs to. I tend to keep them with them quite a lot of the time, because I have visitors to the garden and it's a bit tiresome when you have to keep explaining what's what. If the labels are there, they can look for themselves. The trouble with that is they pull them out, put them back with the wrong plant. But that's how it is. So That's that side done, completed. I put back some Calamagrostis Waldenbush here, or Waldenbush. They look nice at the moment. They're looking all right. One of them did used to live just there. I moved it, and it now lives there with the other one. So there's two of those. So they'll look good for early season, because they are an early season grass. And then we've got Rus glabra lanceolata behind it. Now I've done some pruning on that one. I've had to, because it's quite vigorous again. So I've had to take some chunks off to make it look better and for next year, because it comes across that fence too much. So it's easy to control. Trouble with that one is it's a bit of a suckering shrub, so it will spread itself around. So just be careful of that as well. If you buy one of those, there's a particularly good orange variety called Tiger Eyes. Well, I say it's orange. It starts off green, goes orange, and it maintains a lot of the orange throughout the year. And it's a nice one, bit smaller, bit less vigorous. So that's really good. Talking of vigorous, here he comes. There he goes. He likes to be on camera. Okay, so this side I said I wanted to develop it a bit more, and I have. I've done a little bit more to it, and I've made the border a little bit bigger. As I've explained in previous videos, this is going to be a bit of a pain. If this tree survives, and this is a plum, the plum that got damaged, and I had to do something about it because it looked ridiculous, and I had to do that to it. Now I know it's either going to live or it's going to die. It's two choices now. And I wouldn't be bothered which one it did. If it dies, so be it. I'll use it as a climber or a climbing post. The cats like going up on there, so it'd be another good reason to leave it. If it lives, then hopefully over time we'll get more and more plums back on that, but not for the next 5 years, I don't think, if it comes back. Now, it does look a little bit, I don't know, derelict at the minute is a good word for it. It looks like it's not gonna ever produce another leaf, but it should do. You'll be surprised. Now the reason it did blow over, or one of them blew over, and it wasn't this one, it was the middle one, was because previous owners have not looked after it properly. So it's got rot, and it's got rot in most of the tree itself. Really, I should be kind and take it down. But no, I like to give things a chance, so giving that a chance. It looks good as well, doesn't it? I often think about putting a football on that middle one and putting a face on it. Look like a man screaming. But, you know, little things like that just amuse me. Anyway, let's get back to this border. So I'm really calling it the wildlife border, and I think I might call this the wildlife area in the end. All of this section at the back, I might call it the wildlife area. And if I do, I'm going to have to introduce water, and I'm going to have to introduce some sort of a little puddle for the animals and the birds. But we'll think about that. Now then. So this here is a Buddleja, and this is by far one of the best Buddlejas I've had. And it's one called Bressingham Bountiful. This particular Buddleja was found down at Foggy Bottom at Bressingham Gardens. Adrian Bloom discovered it, and he's been trialling it for the past 10 years. He's had it in his garden for 10 years, testing and trialing it, and I think it's called Bountiful because it has a lot of flowers. Now last year, you may remember, I showed pictures of this one with its flowers when I first planted it, and the flowers were massive. They must have been a foot long. I'm putting some of that down to the fact that I've planted it in an area where plums have been dropping onto the grass for years and years, probably 50 years, 60 years, and they've improved the structure of the soil, improved the nutrition. So it's a really nice Buddleja. Now I've resisted clipping this one yet, because there's another reason for keeping that tree. Hamish uses it as his scratch post. Anyway, so like I say, I've resisted clipping it because I want it to form a more shrubby shape. A lot of Buddlejas tend to go lanky and tall. This one seems to be doing well all over itself. It's a very good, densely leaved Buddleja. So it's cracking actually. You should really look this out. If you search it on the internet, you may be able to buy that one, and I recommend you do. People think Buddlejas are weeds. They're not. They serve a very good purpose and ideally suited for this area, because I'm calling it a wildlife area, so it's just going to be beautiful, hopefully over time, and that should look nice there. Now, I used to have that miscanthus there, which is Grossefontaine. I used to have that to this side of it. I'll try not to walk around too much. I know some of you struggle to keep up with me. I had it there, where I've now placed this echinacea. Now this echinacea is massive. It was here in the garden. There was only a couple of little tiny borders when I came here to Grassy Bottom, and it was massive, that one. The flower heads were massive. So I decided to keep it. It could be one called Magnus, because that does have a really big flower, but there are other varieties as well, but put my money on Magnus at the minute. So I've changed the position. Now, what else have we got here? Just trying to see what I've planted new. Oh, this here. Now, I did say this at the end of another video that I wanted to move this Lythrum, which is a species Lythrum. It's a spreader, but not very fast spreader. But the colour was amazing in the autumn, and I just like it. I just like its spindly look. Looks nice, not for everybody. Some people like big blousy dahlias. I don't. I like this kind of thing. This is what floats my boat. And it's nice, I like it. And then we've got the leucanthemums, which were always here, the big white ones. Don't know what variety it is. I am sure it's a variety. I have so much of this stuff now, I'm having to throw it away as well, because there's just too much. It can be very vigorous itself, but I like it, so I keep it in here. It's good for butterflies, good for bees. All this area is good for both of those, actually. Now behind that, we've got a Solidago. I don't know which one it is, because it was already here. Again, it was in one of the small borders, so I've kept it, because it's nice. And I brought it down here. So that is a nice one that I'm just going to leave alone, just let it do its thing. What I do with these plants is I do take off certain stems at some point if it's getting in the way, like that little one there that you can see that's obviously cut at the top. I do that just to improve the look of the border in general, because I like a nice neat border, and I do like to see soil, as you can see there. I do like to see soil. So that's good. What else we've got here? Oh, Eupatorium cannabinum. I love this one. Now, I selected this as a seedling from a friend's nursery, and it's turned out to be a very good one, and it always looks good. Now, I've been down to his place many times, and they vary drastically, these seedlings. They vary a lot. Now, this one happens to be a nice tall one, very upright, and I like it. So I've kept it here. Now, really, I need to take a split off that. It does seed around, but I don't know what them seedlings are going to turn out like, so I'll probably split some more off. We'll not give it any name, because we don't want to be bringing yet more plants to the marketplace that is already flooded out with different plants. Too many. Is there anything else in here? And the other thing that I need to point out is that miscanthus got put there after I took away a cortaderia. So I moved the pampas grass over to this corner, because this corner is a bit problematic anyway, because I just dump stuff in this corner, and I do that for a purpose. I do that for the wildlife. And you can see I've put lots of little twigs and branches in that area, and then I've also put in a viburnum. That's viburnum ritidiphyllum, because we have a bit of a gap. You can't really see that through this camera, but you'll see people, if anybody walks past in the next 5 minutes, you'll see them walk past there. I don't mind that, but I like secrecy, I like privacy. So we're growing that ritidiphyllum, which will make up to 15 foot, if not 18 foot. And that would look good there. And it's an evergreen, which is another good thing. Now, it's only a little at the minute, but it has, I'd say, put a third of growth on this year since I planted it in there. Very rough looking, that area. Not bothered, don't care. Leave it as it is. It's for wildlife. So I put the pampas there in that corner. So over time, it's going to look really good. And I suspect, so let's take a little wander up here. I suspect, and the reason that I did put it there, not mainly, but one of the reasons I put it there, was that as you look down this path, that'll act as a full stop at the end of it eventually, when the size comes in more. Now, Evita is a dwarfing cortaderia, so don't expect any monster from that. Where the flower is now, maybe it might make another foot, but Evita's very small flowered and very small in the leaf. Hopefully it'll stick to that. It's sold as being small, so hopefully it will be. I've never had it before, so I'm giving it a try, because I wanted to compare it against the cortaderia that I've got in the garden called Patagonia, which we've seen a million times. And actually Patagonia would look good in there as well. I wouldn't be surprised in the future if I don't split that one and put 2 or 3 more in that corner, because it would look really, really nice. So there you go. So we've put leucanthemum in here. As I said, this is round another plum tree. As you can see, it's getting loads of sun at the moment, and it continues to get sun through the spring and summer. And it will get more now because that other plum tree doesn't cast the shadow anymore, which it would have done. So I'm talking about that one there. And then we put this thistle in, and this is Cirsium tuberosum. In fact, it's a shame really, the flower fell off yesterday while I was printing. They shouldn't be flowering this late, but it has that beautiful flower. And it's really good for pollinators. There's another one trying to grow, and it becomes quite a big plant. So it really requires to be in a corner or somewhere where you can give it a bit of support, because if your soil's too rich, it will grow big and end up flopping. The wind pushes them over very quickly. So I've got some more leucanthemums here now. I've just left them stood here at the moment. They're just there. They're not even planted. And the reason they're not planted is because I couldn't make my mind up last night. It was raining on me still, and I'd given in. But I'm thinking of putting it to the side here. And that will have to take its chances whether it flowers or not. Because it may not. If it gets too much shade, it may not flower. But we shall see. So overall, it's looking very nice. And this area sits next to my nursery area, as you can see. And I've got a lot of hopes for this area, to be honest with you. It's quite exciting, doing new projects. I like doing new projects. But in this case, there's not going to be really any more man-made features put in. Well, not at the moment. The only thing I can think what I might have to put in here is some sort of a water feature that may be a dustbin lid upturned, which would be the simplest way to do it here. It doesn't need anything major, but it would be nice to have it next to this section. We've got some Camasias soon that'll be coming up here in this grass here, and I keep telling myself I'm going to take that grass up to let them grow better, but they actually prefer to be in grass. They like it in the grass. They like a damp area, and that grass helps to keep that damp in there, so they grow really well, and they do well every single year. But every single year I think, oh, I wish I'd planted them somewhere where I could get a better view of them, because this area is an area where nobody really comes down to. Oh, that's nice. Look on that back post there. There's a robin, and that robin was with me all yesterday. It was waiting for every time I lifted a bit of turf up through it, it was on it straight away, and that's what robins do. Brilliant. So the winter robins have moved themselves down to Lincolnshire now, and our robins will have gone further south. Isn't that bizarre? So the wildlife area, absolutely brilliant, connects to this area here, which is another area that I really like, and they actually tie up really well. One thing that I think I'd like to do still, and I've talked about this for the last 3 years, is where those 2 posts are, that one and that one. I've got 2 gates for them. You can see on the side of that where the gates were. I've taken them off, so I will take those metal sections off eventually. But what I'd like to do is I'd like to create some sort of a wooden structure, so it would be more of an archway over it. As you come over to this, the arch will draw you in, and that'd be quite nice. And I think it would improve its looks if I did that. But that's more cost in it, but you know, it's worth it. This area here, I could do the same with, but I quite like to leave this as it is, because the cats like running up and down, and the arch wouldn't make no difference. In fact, if anything, they'd run up the arch. Maybe I will. Talking of which, there he goes. So that's probably the only change I'm probably going to make man-made at the moment. The wildlife area. Great for pollinators, great for the hedgehogs that I know are coming through, and I think we've got a fox coming through as well at night time. Owls are definitely around the area. I hear those all the time, and I know they've been in the garden. So hopefully over time this area will develop more. Oh, look at that little robin sat on the Cirsium now over there. I'd get closer, but it'd just fly away. So yeah, so we need wildlife, more wildlife bringing in, which is great. So hope that's given you a bit of an insight into what I've been doing. Nothing major to report yet on it, but it looks good. So one thing I'd like to ask you all, or some of you, is whether you'd leave messages to tell me where you're from, because I recently had somebody from Japan contact me. I thought that's really good because I love Japan and they have some brilliant grasses, and they said that they have grasses and that's why they're watching my videos, because they love grasses. And I was surprised to hear that they're going to get a lot of snow in Japan and they have to cut theirs down to protect them from snapping. It doesn't really matter if snow snap them. It's perfectly fine to leave them alone and let them collapse and let the snow go on top of them. I know the snow adds insulation to them when it comes on, but if you just leave the leaves alone, it should be fine. But anyway, I'm going off the point here, aren't I? As I do often. But if you'd let me know where you're from, it'd be interesting to know. Have we got anyone from Sweden, from Australia, India? I don't know. Because I know there's definitely some Russian people contacting me, and Polish people. But apart from that, I don't know. So it'd be nice to hear where you're all from. Any questions on anything that I show you, in particular grasses, but any other plant, I'm pretty good on other plants as well, let me know, ask the questions, don't be shy to fire away, I will answer them. I answer every single one when I find them, when I find the question, because sometimes YouTube has an annoying habit of hiding them, and then I come across them a week later. And if you can subscribe, that's great, don't cost out, just press that button. And if you press the little bell that's there as well, it'll notify you every time I upload a video. It'll notify you, so maybe some of you don't want to do that. You don't want to be notified, you've had enough of me. But anyway, so we'll end with this shot because I particularly like this shot. It's beautiful. And I'll talk to you on the next one. Ta-da!